12, 13.
Welcome to episode 14 of the Webcomic Beacon Presents First Issue.
I'm Marcus.
I'm Melissa.
And I'm Fes. This week we're going to take a look at Batwing, #1 from DC Comics.
Yes, we do.
Batwing. Cover. I kind of like this cover. It's the background is the background, the foreground's the foreground. It's not too complicated.
Yeah.
It's strong design-wise, and you get a good look at the character. You know it's related to Batman, but it's not Batman.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, I was confused. It was like, Batwing.
Yeah, well, it's not Batman. I mean, if it was Batman, you'd be named Batman.
I know, but it just seems, when I look at this, it seems like it's DC, right? It's not some other comic company
Well,
making their own version of Batman.
Yeah.
It gets so sued.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, like, the name itself does kind of sound overly derivative. I mean, I tend to not like characters who are extremely derivative anyway, particularly when they're...
Unless they're parody.
Well, parody too. Yeah, parodies are fine. But I mean, like, unless
like
they're...
Ratman or something.
Yeah, something like that, or Batmanuel.
I am Batmanuel. You may have heard of me. I get a lot of press.
You were the one who saved that trolley full of supermodels.
Yes, in fact, I shaved them 3 times in one night, if you get my meaning.
Nope. Batmanuel. On a roof, of course.
You know, those characters are fun.
Batman is awesome.
And he's the mayor of Gotham City. That's the coolest shit ever. Anyways, like with me, especially with characters of color, I like it when they have their own identities, like Storm, Bishop, Forge. I'm going to be naming a lot of Marvel characters. I'm very sorry, but that's they tend to do a really good job because DC is very much tied to pre-civil rights movement properties.
Yeah.
And so-
well, it's because they're 20 years older than
Exactly.
Marvel.
And Marvel kind of came up during a time where they could actually start introducing characters. And Marvel just tends to introduce new characters more often, just as a general tendency. But anyways, I would have preferred he had a different name, because that way he's not a character who seems all that disposable. Because with a name like Batwing, to me, he seems like the kind of character that when they decide to go back to the one true Batman, he'll either get killed off or just shuffled into the background.
It's the equivalent of having a red shirt.
Well, see, this is the thing. It is a new property. It's not. It's not like a DC Comics Presents where it seems limited.
Yeah.
So this is a run. This is likely a run to see. Let's see how well people will like this, and then we'll keep going if people like it.
Do we know if it's a new property?
It's one of the new 52. There's 52 new properties.
Well,
this is
he's
what's
a new,
running.
But I mean,
he's
is
a new
the
character.
This
Is
has
it a new
this has a guarantee. This is not a short story. It's not a runoff. This is a new line.
well, yeah.
This is 52. There's a new line. It has
But
no.
Batwing may have.
We don't know that it's going to
Emerged
end.
earlier.
It's going to end if the ratings don't look good. Is
Yeah,
what I'm going to
I
say.
mean, like,
There's no
I
plan
didn't-
to end in sight.
Well, yeah, I didn't read a lot of Batman Inc., so he may have appeared
Yeah.
as part of that, because I know in this comic, he is very explicitly part of the Batman Inc. Extension, like within the storyline. That
Yeah,
is.
but a new reader's not going to know anything about Batman Inc.
Yeah, they do.
It doesn't say anything about Batman Inc. in here. We know that he worked with Batman.
That's kind of the entire point of that.
But the new reader's not going to know that Batman made this sort of international group of Batmans, which I only knew because people have told me and gearing
thought
up
he
for the
mentioned
show.
that.
No, I don't think he did.
No, it's not stated.
It's not
Okay.
stated, because that would just open up the door to a whole new of, wait, what did I miss for a
Yeah.
new reader? So it's good that they didn't
Well, that's
mention
a
that.
good idea then.
What does happen is that this
What does happen is awesome art.
Oh my god!
this is well, the setting is, well, despite the cover being set in Egypt, this happens in which country? It's in Africa, but I forget which country it was in specifically. Tanasha is one of the most crime-ridden cities in all of Africa. So if Tanasha is made up or not, probably made up. They'd be best to make it up.
I'd say let's.
They haven't been making up anything except for Gotham and Metropolis so far.
Really?
They use a lot of Chicago and New York, which they never did before. Like prior to the maybe I think the last crossover.
I think we need to do our homework on that.
We
Well,
probably should.
it may or may not be a real place. I'd be a little wary about actually setting something in another country and just kind of.
They've never stopped them before.
But then again, I don't know. So we have it starts with Batwing is in the thick of getting his ass kicked, basically, and he has electronic wings that from reading this, I think he can fly with them, actually.
That's what it looks like. And plus, with the wing being the the part of his name that they decided to change, other than man, that's they changed man to wing. I would hope that he can fly with them, because that would be kind of the thing that makes him unique amongst the.
Yeah, it's more wingy.
Yeah. No,
and,
he may not. I can't really tell, to be honest with you.
It kind of looks like he does, because he has to be swooping up with this one guy in this one panel.
Oh, yeah.
And so we have this sort of beginning. We get to know what's kind of going on up to, that he's just taking out the trash, basically. And then it cuts to sometime later. Or before,
earlier,
I don't know. It kind of jumps to another place.
It does jump to a different timeline at one point.
So
I think it's actually very early on.
But this is where we get to know his alter ego or his real ego, or
alter ego.
Apparently, Kevin
who he
Spacey
really is.
Was very angry with something.
So he has a sort of in, and he's trying to help clean them up because they're This
is a very corrupt police
officer, and he's trying to help guide this one woman and help her be better, and because she seems to be like the only really good honest seed in there, but
she's one of the few. She's probably like the only other good cop besides him who's not corrupt, but she has a very cynical streak, and he's trying to keep her from like having that
just giving up,
giving up, and having her just become one of the other corrupt cops.
And then we jump to another part where I guess we're in the Batcave equivalent.
Haven.
Of the Haven, it's called. Okay. And with his own version of Alfred, I suppose. Batman's kind of hanging out, and this is where it gets kind of interesting, because there's like this murder scene with a bunch of decapitated people.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently one of the people among them was this superhero.
Yeah, there's an African superhero, but basically, like, what seems to be going on is sort of like the African superhero equivalent of Watchmen, where somebody seems to be picking off all of these superheroes from this one legendary event, and they're trying to get to the bottom of it, because a lot of these people are dying in places that don't make any sense.
Right. And the thing is, this was really interesting, because they mentioned just a little bit about, just one page, it's all mentioned about, he used to be this big superhero. There were several of them in the kingdom. When the heroes began to appear all over the world, they were the first to emerge on this continent. And so I'm kind of interested about that. Heroes from another country, and it's like
continent in this case,
And I do like this other guy's costumes. It's too bad we're not likely going to see any of that ever again. But
I'm guessing he's actually dead, or maybe not.
Well,
you never know.
Because one of the things that they do make a point of saying is that because in this particular country they don't have a lot of the same like identity verifications, like fingerprints and such. They don't have all that documented per se. They can't be certain, but they have to assume because his ID was in this huge pile of chopped up bodies, and there's a crazy shit happens at the end that I won't spoil.
I don't know. I kind of want to spoil that, but then again,
don't spoil
okay. But we get back to his alter ego goes back to the police force and see if they've also found out this information, because he's obviously doesn't want to place suspicion too much. He wants his team to be a team and come back. Until he gets back to his headquarters, and there's a very clear message that he should stay away. Mm-hmm. It could have ended on this page, and that would have been enough. The next two pages is just a little bit more to where I think, okay, I haven't seen this happen before in another DC 52, where I'm going to question whether or not something did or did not happen to a particular character.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the one-liner by the bad guy at the end is actually pretty good. I actually really like that one-liner. It's pretty bad, but it could have ended 2 pages earlier. It's like, ooh, what happened?
Yeah.
The problem with this, there's just so many different acts or jumps in here. It just doesn't feel like it doesn't feel as connected as well as it could have.
I think part of that is the art. I think the art style is so unusual that it takes a while to get used to it. I actually had to read the beginning scene a couple of times just before I got used to the art style enough to be able to follow what was going on.
Oh, it wasn't even that.
The art is beautiful. It's got an interesting push and pull between photorealism and stark minimalism. You have a lot of silhouettes. You have a lot of backgrounds that are just blank. It's very, very nice, very unusual, interesting, intriguing.
Yeah.
but it really is something out of the norm.
Oh, yeah, but to me, what I think tends to throw you off at first isn't so much the art itself, so much as the panel placement, and the fact that you rarely get more than 5, I think, panels on the same page. And there's 6
this one
here.
has 6.
This one has 6,
Yeah.
but that's a very rare one.
It's
like
very
5.
spare.
Yeah. And this one, like, each of these are very, very few number of panels, which is different from the rest of them. Like, a lot of these other comics, you're getting between, like, 7 and 9 on the high end. Mm-hmm. But for this one...
The panels are very angular.
Yeah.
And I had no problem with the sequential art. The sequential art was absolutely fine to me. Mm-hmm. It's when they jumped from scene to scene that kind of confused me, as in, is this later? Is this before?
Yeah.
Where's the placement? Just a little bit.
The way I understand it, the cliffhanger at the end occurs before the beginning.
It occurs before the cliffhanger at the beginning.
Which kind of gives me makes me a little bit underwhelmed. So I'm like, well, I highly doubt that this apparent action is going to happen the way we seem to be seeing it.
So it's just a little bit confusing. However, I think overall, a new reader could probably really get into this.
Yeah.
Into this.
It's an interesting setting. It's an interesting concept. The artwork's
amazing.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good art. That's not in question here. I maybe tighten up transitions a lot better.
Yeah. It seems like they're kind of going for a noir feel.
Right.
Sometimes a lot of noir will have kind of playing with time, but I think they did it a little bit too much. Mm-hmm. Like they may have like played with kind of like moving from place to place without much of a transition in between, which is fine for comics because you don't want to have to watch every single step the guy's taking down the stairs out of his apartment, for example. That's not really what you need. But I think it tends to kind of skip a little bit too much, and sometimes the characters look so different because they'll have either sometimes changed clothes entirely. They'll have he's kind of like Bruce Wayne. He has a very different persona when he's in his police form than when he's Batwing. So you need to kind of set that up a little bit more, I think. But otherwise,
I do have to bring up the fact, and I'm trying to do this in the most not stupid way as possible because I'm kind of dumb. But yes, this is a black character, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But what it isn't,
I would expect so.
But it isn't. But what it isn't, it is not like Black Batman. It's not like palette swapped. I mean, he is a different character. He has his own style to what he does, but it's very Batman inspired. But it doesn't feel like he's trying to be Batman as much as he's really. I mean, he talks about
it's a very different character. He has his own motivations, and it's very clear that, like you said, it's not a palette swapped Batman.
Yeah, right. The way I would describe it is, it seems like if Milestone were recreated, it's a book that may have been part of it.
Yeah.
Because like the character is very different. There are visual similarities, obviously, because in this case he seems to have been in part sponsored by Bruce Wayne.
Right.
But that's where the similarities begin and end. Mm-hmm. Like the idea behind it is that he's a person that Bruce Wayne saw a lot of potential in, and said, "Hey, your country needs a Batman too. You can be that guy."
Mm-hmm. So, as far as a number one, does this succeed or fail?
Succeeds, I'd say.
I'd say succeeds. It's intriguing. I'd pick up number 2.
I was kind of teetering between succeeds and meh, only because of the transitions and the 2 cliffhangers. But overall, I think if somebody who picks this up will know whether or not they're going to be interested in more right away. So I will say succeeds for Batwing number 1 from DC Comics.